ఇప్పుడు ఇప్పుడుది పొద్దున పర్లా ఇప్పుడు వస్తుంది మళ్ళీ.
Good evening, everyone. Guys, am I audible? Thank you. So the last sessions we were discussing with how hackers can launch attacks on your IoT device, that is on your Wi-Fi network, and how they can try to capture the handshake and crack the Wi-Fi passwords. Right? So not only trying to launch attacks onto your Wi-Fi networks, hackers will also be able to crack. Not about cracking. Hackers will also be able to launch attacks onto your systems or maybe your mobile devices and all this. So for this, again, hackers are using the same Kali Linux operating system, but there is a different module in Kali Linux which will be used by hackers, which is called Metasploit. If you guys recollect, we were using this Metasploit earlier when we are launching an attack on some vulnerable FTP server. So the same module will also be used here by hackers. So let me share my screen so we'll be able to discuss that. So I'll also discuss two concepts along with the IoT itself, right? One is how hackers are trying to take over control of your PC as well as your mobile devices using Kali Linux based attacks. So using Kali Linux, how hackers can try to take full control of your system and also your mobile devices. So here, what happens in Kali Linux? You have a package called Metasploit. Do you guys remember that? We were discussing about this package Metasploit. Do you remember, guys? We are discussing about a package called Metasploit in Kali Linux. Okay, so the same package, same Metasploit package can be used to take over control of users' devices also. So for this, what actually hackers are using Metasploit, they are trying to create backdoor attacks. So hackers are trying to create backdoor attacks using the Metasploit framework, and using these backdoors, hackers are trying to take over the control of users' devices, maybe their PC or maybe their mobile devices and all. Right? So this backdoor, you can also consider this as a kind of malware because this is handing over control of your system or your device to a hacker. Right? So these are malware, malicious software. Right? So these backdoors, you can also consider them into a malware category called RAT, remote access trojans. So this backdoor attacks or the backdoor applications, you can also consider them into a category called remote access trojans, right? So here what happens if a hacker wants to take control of a victim's device using a backdoor. So this backdoor will actually contain two different modules. The backdoor contains two different modules. You can call one module as the server module and the other module as a client module. You can call one module as a server module and the other module as a client module. Now this server module will be present on the hacker's computer. The server module will be present on the hacker's computer. The client module of the backdoor will be distributed to the victim. The client module will be distributed to the victim. The server module will be present on the hacker's computer, right? So here when you have a client and a server, who has to initiate the connection? The client has to initiate a connection to server, or server has to initiate a connection to the client? So who is going to initiate the connection? So will the server initiate a connection to the client, or client initiate a connection to the server? So when there is a client and a server, it is always the client which will connect to the server, right? So it is always a client which is going to connect with the server, right? So now with all the other attacks, what we were discussing so far, we have always seen hacker connecting to the victim system, right? Hacker is trying to launch an attack towards the victim's system, right? But here what is happening when you speak about this backdoor application, the client is on the victim's mission, server is on the hacker's mission. So in this backdoor case, it is the opposite. From victim system, right? From victim system, there is a connection towards the hacker's computer, right? So from the victim's computer, there is a connection going to the hacker's computer. So this is opposite of what happens generally. So generally it is a hacker who is connecting to the victim system. But here it is the opposite. Victim system itself will connect to the hacker, right? This kind of connections, we call them as reverse TCP connections. Right, so we call this kind of connections as reverse TCP connections. Is it clear what is a reverse TCP connection? So in a reverse TCP connection, the client is going to initiate a connection towards a hacker, and the client is present on the victim's computer here, right? So client is not on the hacker's computer, client is on the victim's computer, and from victim's computer there is a connection going back to the hacker's computer, right? So this is what you call as a reverse TCP connection. And here, in case of this backdoor attacks, hackers are using reverse TCP connections. Hackers are using reverse TCP connections, right? That is, victim's computer will connect to the hacker's computer. Right? Victim's computer itself will connect to the hacker's computer, right? So hacker has to create the client part, right? Hacker has to create the client part of this backdoor, distribute it to the victim, so that once the victim downloads and executes this client module on their system, right? Once the victim downloads and executes the client module on their system, from their system, a connection will be sent to the hacker's computer. So from the victim's computer, a connection will be sent to the hacker's machine. Now assume you are a hacker and you are creating this client module, right? You are the hacker and you are creating this client module. So for this client module to connect with the server which is on your computer, what all details do you need to give on the client? So you want the client to connect with your computer. So what all details should you be giving in the client? So on the client, we have to define what is the IP address of the server, right? Only then the client can connect to the server, right? So we have to say what is the IP address, and we should also define the port number, on which port number this client has to connect with the server, right? So we'll have to define the IP address and also the port number, right? So hacker, when they are creating the client part of the backdoor, they have to define what is the IP address and what is the port number of the server. So once these details are created and the client is distributed to the end user, when end user downloads and executes the client application, it will automatically establish a connection to the server. Okay, is that clear? What actually happens in this reverse TCP connection? Okay. So the same technique will be used whether the attack is done towards a PC or the attack is done towards a mobile, right? So in both cases, it's the same procedure, right? The same backdoor attack will be used by the hackers. So let us see how actually these backdoor attacks will be done by the hacker using Metasploit and Kali Linux. So here, when you speak about Metasploit, as we were discussing earlier, Metasploit is a pure command line based package. Right. So Metasploit is purely a command line interface application. You don't have a graphical interface and all for this, right? And the other problem is not only being a CLI, you have to remember the commands. Right? So you'll have to remember the commands, you'll have to remember the sequence and all this, right? So you'll have to remember the proper sequence and what is the syntax and all for all the commands, right? Now, remembering so many commands will become very, very difficult. So when you are going with the backdoor attacks, you have some options. There are some third-party packages which are dependent on Metasploit, right? You have something like Fatrat. You have something like MSF Venom. Then there is some other package with a similar name, Venom, right? So these are some third-party packages which will help you to create the required client part. They will help you to create the required client part of the backdoor. Now for creating the server part, there is no option. You have to go through the Metasploit console, which is MSF console, and you have to give the commands. But again, creating a server will only need 4 or 5 commands, so we can remember them easily, but creating a client will require a lot of commands because we'll have to remember commands related to each and every application or each and every kind of operating system architecture and all this, right? So for creating the client, we can use this third party packages, and for creating the server part, you can go with MSF console. So we'll be using FatRat package to create the client, and then we will go with MSF console to create the required server part, and then we will see how exactly these backdoors would work. Now, the fat rat is not a inbuilt software. So fat rat is a third-party package that you have to install on your Kali Linux. And in the VM which I have shared, the fat rat package is already installed. So you don't have to worry about how to download and install this on your Kali VM, right? So it is already pre-installed. Now to start using the fat rat package, you give a command sudo fatrat, give a command sudo fatrat. Now even fatrat will not give you any graphical interface, but it gives you a menu-based interface. So it's like choose option number one for so and so, option number two for so and so. That kind of a menu you'll be getting. Okay, so fatrat will start checking for all the packages, whether they are all available on your system or not. If some packages are missing, it will also give you the command using which you can install the package. But as I said, FatRat is already installed, so no issue. All the packages which are required are already installed on the Kali VM. Okay, so once the FatRat package is up and running, this is how you see different menu options, right? So you'll have to choose what actually is your requirement. So as I said, I'll be showing you the backdoor attacks for both a PC as well as a mobile device, right? So let's say I want to create a backdoor for a mobile device, right? IoT device. I'll go with option number one, saying that I want to create a backdoor using MSF Venom. So as I said, MSF Venom is dependent on your Metasploit framework using which you can create the client. Right? So I'm using that package MSF Venom. So as I said, no need to remember any commands or the syntax and all. Just choose the menu options and proceed. So I go with option number one, and then it is giving me with the four options which are part of MSF Vino. So it says what exactly is your target operating system. So I say I want to create a backdoor for uh, Android operating system. So I'm choosing option number three. Right? I want to create a backdoor for Android device. So option number three. So now it is asking you what will be the L host. Now here we'll have to understand these terms. What we are creating here for the backdoor is the client and the server. So in the backdoor, you have two packages, right? Which will be on two different missions. One is the victim, the other is a hacker. So this is a hacker's computer and this is a victim's computer, right? So what actually are we going to share with the victim, server or client? So what are we going to share with the victim, server or client? With the victim. With the victim, we are sharing the client, right? Server is on the hacker's computer. So we are going to create the client and share it to the victim, right? We are going to create the client and we are sharing it with the victim. And the server is going to be on the hacker's computer, right? So this can be a victim PC or it can be your mobile or anything, right? So now here we have to define the listening host. What we are creating now is the client, and here we have to define the listening host. So according to the client, who will be the listening host? Who will be waiting to accept incoming connections from the client? Server will be waiting to accept incoming connections from the client, right? So that's what we were discussing. Once the client module is downloaded and executed on the user computer, it has to initiate a connection to the server, right? So the listening host is nothing but your server IP address. Now, where is the server present? Server is present on the hacker's computer where you have this Kali Linux operating system running, right? So can I say the listening host is also the IP address of your Kali Linux system? The listening host is also the IP address of your Kali Linux system. Yes, right. And in the same way, we also have to define the listening port. So listening port is nothing but on which port number this connection will be accepted, right? So in short, you call them as L host and L port, listening host and listening port. So here it is asking us what is the listening host, right? And here it is also saying that your local IP address, your Kali Linux system's IP address is this, right? So I say my listening host IP address is 172.22.22.111. Right. So listening host is again nothing but my Kali Linux system. So I'm giving the IP address of my Kali Linux system here. Then it is asking us what is the listening port. So let me take up listening port as say 6666. You can take up any port, right? So anything above 1024 can be taken. So say okay. And then it is asking you what should be the name of your application. Right? What will be the name of your application, your client application? What should be the name of it? Right? So here let me say um, I'll take a name as BGMI. So I can uh, tell the end user that this is a uh, BGMI game, right? With all the weapons and all, everything is activated, right? And then it is asking us what should be your attack method? What kind of attack method do you want to use? So I will use an attack method called Android Meterpreter Reverse TCP, right? So the reverse TCP is the kind of attack we want, right? So Android Meterpreter Reverse TCP is the attack that I wanted to use. So I go with option number 3. Say okay. And then it shows you with all the options what you have chosen. And then it will start creating the backdoor for your Android operating system. Okay, so once everything is made, it says it has been saved. The backdoor application is saved in this location /home/cybersec um, fatrack generated bgmi.apk. So everything is done. It's good. Now we are done with the first part of our activity. What's the first step? We have to create the client and then we have to distribute it to the end user, right? So now do not close the terminal where your FatRat package is running. Just minimize it. So in the home folder, you have a folder called FatRat generated. bgmi.apk is the apk file that is created. So here what I'll do is I will copy this particular file and then start distributing it using my web server. So in Kali Linux, you have a simple web server available inbuilt. So using that, I'll try to distribute this fake application or the BGMI application. So this internal web page is located in this particular folder /var/www/html, right? So all you need to do is take that apk file and keep it into this location, right? And this is how the web page looks like, right? So this is how the web page looks like to the end user, right? So when they click on the link, they'll be able to download that apk file. So once the file has been distributed, right, you can now prepare your Kali Linux to accept incoming connections. So we need incoming connections from the victim's mobile device, right? We'll have to capture them. So to do that, let us create the server part using msf console. So give a command msf console. It will start the Metasploit console. So once the Metasploit console is created, you can see use an exploit multi-handler. Right. Use an exploit multi-handler. Now this multi-handler is a service which is present in Metasploit framework. Right. You have a service which is already present in the Metasploit framework, which can accept all incoming connections. Right. So multi-handler is something which can accept all incoming connections. But tell me, do we need to take or do we need to collect all the incoming connections, or should we only capture those incoming connections which are created from this Metasploit attack? Should we accept all the incoming connections, or should we only accept those incoming connections coming from the Metasploit attack? So no need to accept all incoming connections for Kali Linux. We will only try to accept incoming connections related to the Metasploit attack, right? So what we do is we say set the attack payload as Android Meterpreter reverse TCP. So that was the attack method what we have chosen, right? So set the attack method as Android Meterpreter reverse TCP, and then set the listening host. Listening host is nothing but your Kali Linux IP address, which is 172.22.22.111. Set listening port 6666. And if you see here, the payload, listening host, and listening port, all these parameters are the same as what we have created when we are putting up this client, right? So when we have created the client, these are the same parameters what we have defined, right? And then say exploit. So here you can say exploit -j, so that now the server part is ready to accept all incoming connections which are created by the Android Meterpreter reverse TCP attack method. Right. So all the incoming connections which are created by the Android Meterpreter reverse TCP connection will now be accepted. Okay. So is it clear? Vijay, as you are asking, if the port is already taken by some other application, then you'll have a conflict. So you'll not be able to run two applications on the same port. So you'll have to change the port number. So once the server part is also created, all you need to do is just wait for the client system, right, to download and execute your application. So once the client downloads and executes the application, you can see that your connections start coming up, right? So here there is a connection, Meterpreter session 2 opened. So to connect, you say sessions hyphen I space 2. So there is the session ID. So we are getting connected. So once you are connected, you can say something like sysinfo. It tells you what is the version of Android installed on the victim's device, whether it is 32-bit or 64-bit architecture. You can say geolocate. It will try to capture the GPS coordinates from the victim's mobile device and show you. Okay, so if you get some error message like the timeout, don't worry, you can try to execute the command again. It depends on how good is the connectivity from the victim device and this thing. So maybe sometimes the internet connectivity is not so good, or sometimes you'll have this timeout coming up. So you can give multiple tries, and especially if your victim has the newest version, Android 12 or Android 13, right? Sometimes you may get some uh, timeout issues. So, okay, let me just try to check something else. Okay, so here I'm trying to see what all files and folders are present on the victim's mobile device, right? So these are all different files and folders which are present on the victim's mobile device. Now let's say I wanted to navigate within the file system. So as you see, I'm able to navigate within the file system and all. So it's like as if you are accessing all the files and folders on your own computer, right? So once the victim tries to download and execute the application, assuming that it is a proper game or something, right? You will be able to see all the files and folders and everything as if it is on your own computer. Now you can say download. Okay, I'll just try to download something. TP debug info. So I'm trying to download a file from the victim's mobile device to the hacker's computer, right? So okay, so some 3.3 MB file has been downloaded from the victim's computer to the hacker's machine. Okay, so some uh, debug logs or something which have been captured here, right? Okay, so you are able to download some files. In the same way, you can also like navigate to all the other files and folders within the end user's mobile device. And all these things will happen without the knowledge of your victim. So your victim does not know that someone has connected to his mobile device, and then they are trying to navigate and they are trying to access all the files, folders, and all those things. Right. So as you can see, I'm able to see the folders. I'm able to see different files and all. Right. So everything on that particular victim device is now accessible to me. Let me again try. Okay, so as I said, sometimes with the newer version of Android, sometimes you may get this timeout. Now you see, once I give the command geolocate, it is telling me the location coordinates of the victim's mobile device. So you can find out the exact location where is this victim device present. So all I need to do is just copy the coordinates, and then I can use my web browser, go to Google Maps. So in the Google Maps, you can give the location coordinates that you have copied. So it will directly show you like where exactly your victim is present. So guys, what do you say? Getting the location of a user through their GPS coordinates would be much better, or trying to find out location from their IP address would be much better? So what do you say? Getting location coordinates from IP address is better, or from the GPS coordinates is better? So GPS will give you the exact pinpoint location. So this particular device is available in this location. Right? Is this dangerous? What we are doing now? Distributing a backdoor and without the knowledge of end user, trying to get full access of the device. And as I said, when this is going on, end user does not know that someone has connected to their device, right? And they were trying to access all the contents, right? Okay. So if end user tries to download and install some apps or games or some things from unknown locations, this kind of things can happen. A hacker can trick the end user to install a backdoor, or we can just say like this is a malware, and once the malware is installed, right, hacker can gain full access to the victim's device. Mr. Bright, why is it not dangerous? Hacker gaining control over your device, is it not dangerous? See, I'm not speaking about whether it is dangerous for the hacker. For a victim who is unaware of what is happening on their mobile device, right? And hacker already got access to their device, right? It's dangerous, right? So when you speak about end users, say myself, yourself, maybe our friends and all, when we download some applications from internet, if we are unaware of what actually is the origin of this application, who made it, right? What happens when this application is installed, right? Can something like this happen to us? Yes, right. So especially when you are trying to download some applications or games and all, right? Always try to get them from the official sources, from the official Play Store, right? Do not download any of this apps or games and all those from your third party app stores or maybe some websites and all this, right? See, basically, antivirus for your mobile operating systems is pretty useless. It doesn't do anything, right? So you can't trust those so-called antivirus applications, right? Now, this kind of attacks are not only for your IoT devices. The same kind of backdoor attack can also be done against a PC, a user computer, right? So let me show you how a hacker can do the same kind of an attack against a PC, right? So for this, hacker has to create the backdoor application, same as what happened in case of a mobile device. A backdoor application has to be created, and that backdoor application has to be distributed so that once the end user downloads and installs this application, hacker will be able to take control of their system, right? So here, let me go back to the main menu of the FatRat package. And here, to create a attack, right, towards a PC, I'll choose the option creating a fully undetected backdoor using Pawnwinds package. Mr. Sashir, as you are asking for iPhone and Mac, it's also possible, right? The same MS of Venom is giving you the option to create backdoors for your Linux, Mac, and all this. So backdoors are available for all the platforms. Okay. So now for creating a backdoor for the user's PC, their Windows device, I'm using this package called Pawnwinds, which is also built in into the FatRat itself. So I choose option number 6. So once I go into option number 6, as we have seen earlier with MS of Vino, it is giving us with a few more choice. So I'll choose the option create a batch file along with PowerShell scripting for backdoor access. Create a batch file along with PowerShell scripting for the backdoor access. So I'm choosing option number 1. The next step, same as earlier, it is asking us what will be the listening host IP address and the port number and all. Is the host IP, host port and all. So I say the L host is 172.22.22.111. L port, let me take something else, like say 5656. Right. And for the file name, let me take up something as say Kaspersky antivirus. So I'll tell the end user that what I'm giving you is a Kaspersky antivirus or maybe a cracked version of the Kaspersky antivirus. So it will be easy for me to convince the end user to download this application. And the attack method, earlier we were using Android Meterpreter reverse TCP. Now I'm targeting Windows, so I say the attack method will be Windows Meterpreter reverse TCP, option number 3. So now this application will create a backdoor and save it. Okay. So once the backdoor is created, it says it is saved into /home/cybersec/fatrat generated kav.bat. Okay. So let us see the file fatrat generated kav.bat. So I'll take this, I'll try to distribute this via the default web browser in Kali. I'll just take it and keep it into the same location like what we did earlier with the BGMI APK file. So the first part is done. That is, we have created the client part. So the next step is we'll have to create the server part. So take up another terminal and we'll have to run metasploit console for the terminal part. So same command, msf console. So same steps, we'll have to go through the same commands and all, right? Only a small difference. Instead of Android meterpreter reverse TCP in the attack method, we are going to say Windows meterpreter reverse TCP, right? Use exploit multi-handler. Set payload. So here we have a small change. We say Windows meterpreter reverse TCP. Then L port 5656. This is what we have taken. Listening host 172.22.22.111. Sorry, to say set L host, right? And then I say exploit. So once we say exploit -j, now your Metasploit framework is ready to accept incoming connections. So now let us go to the victim's computer. So on the victim's computer, I am just trying to access that web page 172.22.22.111. Okay, so here I'm trying to download this Kaspersky application, the cracked version of Kaspersky application. So as you see, uh, the software has been downloaded on my computer. So you can see that in the downloads folder. So I'll just try to run the application. So as you see, when I try to run the application, it has shown me some random characters on the screen, and then that window has disappeared. So is the antivirus installed? Is the Kaspersky antivirus installed on my computer? So as of now, Kaspersky antivirus is not yet installed on my computer, right? So I'm still waiting for this application to be installed, right? So as an end user, I'm still waiting for the Kaspersky application to be installed, right? But we'll see what actually happened on the hacker's mission. As you can see, a Meterpreter session has opened, right? So Meterpreter session has opened here on the hacker's mission. It means whatever client application we have distributed, right? So whatever the client we have distributed to the hacker, sorry, to the victim, that application was successful. It has executed, right? So now to get connected, we say sessions-i space 1. We say sessions-i space 1, right? So you got connected to the first Meterpreter session. So once the Meterpreter session is established and you are connected, same as what we did with a mobile device, you can say sysinfo. It tells you what is the operating system, what is the build version, whether it is 32 or 64-bit, right? All the information, all the details it is showing you. Now you can also verify those details. So if I go to the system settings, okay, now see this the operating system version, it says is Windows version 10, build is 22000, and this is the same thing what we are able to see. It is Windows 10 22000. So even though it is Windows 11 what we use, right? In reality, it is actually Windows 10 build version 22000, right? And that's what you are able to see here in the hacker's mission also, right? Not only this, you can say screenshot. So when you say screenshot, it will capture a screenshot of whatever is visible on the end user system. So whatever is visible on the victim's computer, a screenshot will be captured and that will be saved onto your home folder. Okay, so see, there is the screenshot of whatever was visible on the victim's computer, right? So this is what is there on the victim's computer. So whatever is there on victim's computer, you are able to capture the screenshot on the hacker's machine. And not only trying to capture the screenshot, I can also say key scan start. So when I say key scan start, you are actually starting a keylogger on the victim's computer, right? So you are actually starting a keylogger on the victim's computer. So now let us try to type something on the victim mission and we'll see if those activities have been captured or not. Say I want to access say bbc.com. Okay, so this is what I have typed. Let me say key scan dump. So is this what we have typed? bbc.com on the Windows 11 system. So whatever is being typed on the victim's computer, right? You are able to capture those keystrokes. So you did not install a keylogger on your computer. You did not do the configuration, right? You didn't share it to the victim and all, but you are able to capture the keystrokes through Metasploit, right? So through the Metasploit backdoor, you are able to capture the keystroke, right? And then let us see what else you can do. So same as what we were doing in the mobile device, you'll also be able to see what all files and folders are present on the victim's device. You will be able to download or execute those files, right? So you can download the files, you can execute those files and all, right? So you can say download. Okay, as of now, do we have something? Okay. Okay, so that, okay, so that. Okay, so here there are some images and all in the FTP server of the, sorry, in the FTP folder of the remote mission. So let me try to download something. I can say one.jpg. Okay, so this has been downloaded. Right. So whatever was there on the remote user device, you are able to download them. You will be able to upload them. You will be able to delete them. Right. So end user has just tried to download and execute some application, a cracked application or something, and now as you see, hacker got full access to the end user computer. So is it dangerous to download and install applications from unknown sources? So guys, what do you say? Is it dangerous to download and install applications from unknown sources? So be it on a system, be it on a mobile device, wherever it is, right? Trying to download and install applications from some unknown sources, right, is always dangerous. Without your knowledge, hacker can gain full control of your device, right? And you will not even realize what's happening. Okay, is it clear? Now, these backdoor applications can be used by a hacker to take over control of the victim's device. It can be a mobile or it can be a computer and all. Right. Now let us say, assume, Sashir, I have already said iOS devices also the same backdoor will work. Right. MSF Venom is what you have to use. Okay. So now when you speak about hacker, hacker can try to use backdoor applications to take control of the device, or hacker can use sniffing or phishing or maybe keylogging to steal the passwords. But let us say in a situation where hacker is not successful with stealing the passwords or taking control of the user device. Hacker is not successful with stealing the passwords or taking control of the user device. Then what do you think a hacker will do? If hacker is not successful with stealing the passwords or taking control of a system using backdoor methods, what do you think a hacker would do? So in such cases, if hacker is not able to steal your passwords or maybe try to take control of your system, hacker would try to destroy your data or destroy your systems, right? So that you will not be able to use your own system, or you will not be able to access those resources, right? You'll not be able to use the system, or you'll not be able to use the resource. So here, hacker will use something called a malware. As I said, the backdoor is also a kind of malware. So in general, when you speak about a malware, it is a malicious software. It's a dangerous software, right? So a malware is nothing but malicious software, and there are different kind of softwares which are considered as malware, right? So there are different kind of softwares that are considered as malware, right? So the most common thing that we all know is something called a virus, right? So when you speak about a virus, uh, according to you, what actually is a virus? What does it do? So guys, what does a virus do? Affect the performance. Okay, so here when you speak about a virus, this is designed to destroy your user data. The virus is designed to destroy the user data or the operating system of your computer, right? So either destroy the operating system or destroy the user data. So this is what a virus is designed to make. Now, virus will not slow down the performance of our computer. Virus is only designed to destroy our data, right? Say, for example, you have a virus called Happy Birthday virus, which would format C drive of your computer. There's a virus called Happy Birthday virus, which is going to format C drive of your computer. Right. There is another virus called nexem.e, which is going to erase all the files with extensions as .doc, ppt, pdf, xls, log, txt, right, db. So any file which has these extensions, all the contents will be deleted by nixem, right? So when you speak about virus, virus is something which is designed to damage our data or our operating system. Is it clear, everyone? Yeah. So there are some other kind of malwares, right, which you call as a worm. Now this one does not destroy our data, but it can bring down the performance of our computer, right? So it will slow down your computer to an extent that you will not be able to use it, right? So let's say, for example, I have a file which is 10 KB in size. So can we call it as a large file or a small file? 10 KB size. Is it a large file or a small? A very small file, right? 10 KB is not a very big thing. But let us say this 10 KB file is programmed in such a way that this 10 KB file has to make 100 copies of itself for every 10 seconds. Right. So this 10 KB file was made in such a way it has to make 100 copies of itself for every 10 seconds. Right. And this activity was going on the computer for the past 2 hours. So now, can I say I have some millions of files which are trying to create 100 copies of themselves? So for the past 2 hours, this 10 KB file is trying to create 100 copies of itself for every 10 seconds. And each of those files will again try to create 100 copies for every 10 seconds. Right. So now there are some millions of files which are trying to create 100 copies of themselves for every 10 seconds. Now the challenge is, will my computer have enough resources to execute all this request? My computer will not have resources to execute all this request, right? So in such case, what happens to my computer? I want to open Firefox, or maybe I want to open Chrome, or I want to open some other application. Does my computer accept my request and open that application? Does it have the resources to do it? So my computer will not have the required resources to execute that particular application. Right? So as an end user, I always feel that my computer has become slow, it is not responding. So if your computer is slow, it's not responding, right? It's not because of a virus infection, but it is because you have some worm running on the computer. Right? So there's a worm which is trying to create multiple copies of itself. So because of that, your computer is not in a position to accept your request and process them. Is it clear, everyone? And there are some other kind of malwares also. Now there is a malware called rootkit. There's a malware called rootkit which will stop you from accessing some things on your computer. Now let's say you want to access command prompt. Rootkit will stop you from accessing command prompt. Or you want to access, say, task manager. Rootkit will stop you from accessing task manager. Right? So a rootkit will prevent the end user from accessing resources on their own system. Right? So have you faced any such issue? You're trying to access something on the computer and it says that has been blocked. Okay. No. Okay. So if you haven't seen that, you're lucky. Right? But when you speak about these malwares, right? Rootkit, virus, worms, they're all very old malwares, right? They're all old generation, old gen, right? They will not be effective on your computers with the newer operating systems like Windows 10 or Windows 11 and all, right? If you are using the newer operating systems, Windows 10, Windows 11, and all this, these malwares will not really be effective on your machines. They don't harm your computer, right? But in the earlier days, in the days of Windows XP, Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, right? These all malwares were very, very effective, right? And they were capable of damaging user data and all. But today, that's not the case, right? So a hacker cannot depend on a virus or a worm and all today to create some kind of damage on the user computer, right? But what hackers are using now is something called a ransomware. Have you guys come across this name? So ransomware is a kind of virus in the way how it behaves, but there are some small changes. Right. Generally, a virus, once it is infecting a user computer, it will try to damage the data. Right. Same as what I said, Nixon or maybe Happy Birthday virus and all. Once they are infecting a user computer, they'll try to damage the user data. But here, when it comes to ransomware, ransomware will not damage the user data directly. Once ransomware is infecting a user computer, ransomware will slowly encrypt all the data on the computer. Right? Remember, we are discussing about encryption. Your clear text data will be converted into an unknown format, right? So ransomware will convert your data into unknown format. So if data has been encrypted, it has been converted into an unknown format, will you be able to access the data on your computer? What all files or folders that you have on the computer, will you be able to access them? So you'll not be able to access those files or folders, right? Once ransomware has infected your computer and it has encrypted all the data, right? Then how will you get access to the data then? So once all the data has been encrypted, you will need a decryption key or you'll need a decryption software to gain access to the data. But the problem here is for you to get the decryption key, hacker would demand you to pay some money, right? Hacker will demand you to pay some money, right? It can be some $1,000 or $10,000 or whatever, right? Depending on the targeted system. So based on who owns that particular system where data has been encrypted and all, right? Hacker already knows like whether it belongs to an individual or does it belong to an organization and all. If it is an individual, they may ask you for some pricing. If it is an organization, they may ask you for a different kind of pricing and all, right? So they'll ask you to pay the money, and if you do the payment, only then you will have access to the data. If you do not do the payment, they'll not give you access to the data. Right? So to gain access to the decryption key, you need to do the payment. And again, this payment will not be in terms of rupees or dollars, where you'll be able to easily track where is this money going to and all. Right? So they'll always ask you to do the payment in terms of cryptocurrencies, and you'll not be able to track where exactly the money is going and all. Right? Okay, so let me show you how this ransomware will try to infect a user computer, or how the ransomware infected files look like. Now, here you can see the file type. The file type is .exploit. So every folder, right, all the files, they're all encrypted and they all have been changed into this .exploit format. And the hacker has given some message which says, if you wanted to restore the data, right, if you want to restore the data, you have to pay 1 Bitcoin, right? You'll have to pay 1 Bitcoin to gain access to the data decryptor, right? So without doing the payment, end user will not be able to get access to the data, right? So this is how all your data will be encrypted, and hacker will try to put up a message saying that if you want to gain access to the data, this is how you'll have to do the payment. Maybe they give you a cryptocurrency wallet address, or maybe they give you some email ID where you'll have to contact them and then negotiate like how much you'll have to pay, to which crypto wallet you are going to do the payment and all this, right? So once the payment is done and you got access to the decryption tool, right? You'll just have to run this. You just have to run the decryption tool. So now see what actually happens. Okay, so all the files are into .exploit format. So I'll just try to scan all the partitions on the computer, find out what all files are encrypted, and do the decryption. Now you see, once the decryption is done, all those .exploit files are gone, and you are able to see the data in its original form. Right. Okay, so is it clear? Once the data has been encrypted, you will not be able to access that data. And for you to get access to the data, the only option is you have to pay the hacker and get the decryption tool. Okay, so this is what hackers are using now, right? So the viruses and all, it's not very effective now, right? So hackers are using this ransomwares. Is it clear? And here, let me also show you some other file, what actually happens. Now let me say, okay, so as you can see, I keep some file here on my desktop, right? You are able to view all the data, right? So now see what happens when I execute a ransomware. So I'm executing this ransomware. It gives me an error, no issue. But as you can see, my system background and everything has been changed, and it now says that all my data has been encrypted, right? And I have to contact the hacker to get the decryption key. Now let me open this notepad. So earlier I was having all the text and everything in English. I'm able to read the content. But now see, once the data has been encrypted, how exactly it has changed. Right. So all the data has been changed into an unknown format. Right. So all I need to do is, as we discussed, get the decryptor from the hacker and execute it. So once the decryptor is available and you have executed, all your data will be restored back to the original state. So this is what happens with the ransomware attacks. Is it clear, everyone? What happens with the ransomware attack? Vijay, as you are asking, what would be the guarantee that hacker will give you a decryption tool? Unfortunately, there is no such guarantee now, at least in the initial times, right? Whenever payment was done, hackers used to give you a decryption tool, right? But nowadays, there is no such guarantee. Okay, so hackers try all possible methods to find a vulnerability and launch an attack, or to steal your password and gain access, or at least try to gain backdoor access to the system, right? But let's say in all the cases, unfortunately, hacker is not successful, then hacker will try to destroy your data, right, by using these malwares, or encrypt all the data and then demand you to pay money using ransomware. Is it clear, everyone? So now when hacker is trying to do all this kind of attacks and all, is there a chance that the hacker's information can be leaked, or maybe the hacker's data can be found out? Is there a chance that the hacker's data can be found out? So there are chances, right? Because when hacker is trying to launch an attack, there is a request coming from hacker's computer to the target, right? So there is a request coming from hacker's computer to the target, right? So in such cases, hacker can be caught, right? Hacker can be caught because there is a direct connection from the user computer. Sorry, there is a direct connection from hacker's computer to the target machine. Hacker's IP address details and all those things can be revealed. So once the hacker's IP address and all those things are revealed, right? Based on the IP address, more information about the hacker and their location details and all can be easily captured, right? But hackers are using different techniques to hide their real identity, right? So hackers are using different techniques and all to hide their identity, right? So that their information or their details will not be revealed, right? So how exactly they are doing it, we'll discuss in the next session, how they are hiding themselves, right? And then we'll go with the countermeasure part. Okay? So with this, I
Hello,
end the
sir.
session for yes. Yeah, tell me. I
Hello,
can
sir.
hear
Can
you.
you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. Tell
Okay,
me.
please. I'm having issue with the videos. Now the videos play back. They are not playing simultaneously. Sometimes it will break. I mean, what I mean by it will break is, imagine, when you are playing video, it will be, counting based on minutes, seconds, and you understand, within a short time, you discover that it has jumped up to 30 minutes. It will go to the next, say, topic or things like that. So it's not following sequentially the way it was, I don't know, it was uh, programmed. I don't know if it's from the application they use or if there is any other way that I can be able to rectify it. Because sometimes it
No, what you can do
worries
is try
me.
to change the player, which player you are using for this videos.
I've used three different players. I don't know if you have anyone that you can recommend that is good. Let me. I'd even
For
try to install it so that I will play it on a different machine with my television, but no, it's still not. It's still breaking. It will only. I can only hear audio, but the video will not display. Sometimes the video will display. I will not hear audio. Things like that.
There definitely seems to be some processing thing. I generally use VLC player, so should not have any issues with the VLC.
Yes, I have VLC here.
That should not be a thing because uh, whatever is being recorded, right? Your audio and video both will be recorded together. It's simultaneous, so you should not have that issue then. Can you once check it on a different system or maybe on your mobile or somewhere?
I've done it on a different. I've done it on my app and I've done it on the laptop and as well as on my set. So still, the set is not even playing. Can't really read the MP4 file.
You should not have an issue with the MP4. MP4 is generally there's a universal format. Uh, Guys, did anyone else face such issue? Okay, maybe Mr. Bright, what you can do is like maybe try to transfer one or two files to your mobile and try to check there. Mr. Bright, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I'm using
Yeah.
mobile in all our classes, so I only use my laptop for practical.
No, no, for you to play the video, once try to do it on your
Yes,
mobile and see.
I use mobile. That's where I have the files because I download them on the mobile before I transfer to my system.
No, I'm saying, can you try to play them on the mobile and see
Yeah,
maybe like
yes,
wherever it's
I do.
getting stop, I mean, wherever it is getting stuck on your PC at the same timeline, do you see the same thing happening on your phone also? Let's say
Yes,
at 10-minute mark, the same thing is happening on both phone and the PC.
yes.
If that is the case, then give me 1 or 2 days. Let me just check. Uh, if you can share some specific time, like when exactly you're facing that issue, right? You can give me a WhatsApp message, right? I'll try to verify at the very specific time and see if the same thing is happening on my system also or not.
Okay, sir.
Okay, yeah. Thank you all, and we'll continue in the next session tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.